You ever been a part of a church that had disagreements? Yeah, it's pretty amazing. That's one of the things that's remarkable about what the Lord's is doing here is you have a variety of people, different backgrounds, different insights, and all that kind of stuff. And by and large, I'd say, maybe even in a large measure, the Lord's given us the ability to work together. That's why unity is such a miracle, because it's hard sometimes, isn't it, to get along with folks that don't think the way you think. Doesn't it irritate you that not everybody sees things the way you think? Yes, it does. As a matter of fact, it does. Same thing in the church of Corinth there. He says, I appeal to you, brothers, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you agree with one another so that there may be no divisions among you and that you may be perfectly united in mind and thought. And so this is something that I do with my wife who had a flat tire today and isn't able to be here today. So I can talk about her. In our marriage, this is the thing, okay? My friend, did you catch this? Okay, that there be no divisions among you, may be perfectly united in mind and thought. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to agree on every single point, but it's this. It's more important to be united than right. Turn to somebody and say, it's more important to be united than right. Okay? And that's not just, now I don't know about you guys, I don't know every conversation you have, but I know there are some times. There are people who go to church. I'll even call them Christians. Can't vouch for it, but I can say they go to church. They will actually tell other people about the problems going on in their church. Now, I know we've never done that. That's astonishing to me, is that people will go and air dirty laundry and won't talk to the person they need to talk to. What do the scriptures say? You got a problem that's serious enough that really bugs you, who do you go to first? The person at Tim Hortons that's serving you the coffee and you tell them the problem's there? Go to the person if it bugs you that much. Otherwise, love covers a multitude of sins and evils. So either shut up and go and love, or if it bugs you enough, go talk to the person. That sounds pretty easy. Okay. That has nothing to do with the sermon. Here we go. Okay. Verse 17. Here we go. For Christ did not send me to baptize. He talks about the people he baptized. He mentions he had a few people he baptized in Corinth there. And he says, I wasn't sent to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with words of human wisdom, lest the cross of Christ be emptied of its power. So what you can write down for number one in your sermon outline today is this. Marinate in the message of the cross. Marinate in the message of the cross. Now, those that you know me long enough and well enough know is that I am not a cook. And so for me to use a cooking reference in a sermon point, I want you to know this is a step out there for me, okay? Because I'm having to rely on secondhand ideas here, okay? When you marinate something really well, notice I said you, not me. I didn't say when I marinate things. When you marinate something well, it's an amazing process, isn't it? I mean, cooking is chemistry. It's different than just brushing some garlic on top of a piece of bread, isn't it? It's good. Nothing wrong with garlic bread. It's different than taking, Nancy lived in Switzerland. We saw a show about Switzerland the other day. That fondue, you fork that bread and you put it into that cheese. Is that marinating? But it's good. But it's not marinating, is it? Part of the point of marinating, as I understand it, is you're trying to take the flavor in this sauce, juice, and you're trying to put it into the DNA, essentially, of the meat. It tenderizes it, and done well, it's good. It's good, isn't it? Oh, yeah. And what I am submitting to you today, and what the scriptures are calling for us, is this. Don't just on a once-a-month basis, because we're here on Sunday. The second Sunday of the month is when we do it. There's some churches that do it every week, and some do it on whatever, okay? But we do a second Sunday of each month. So beyond just a once a month for a couple minutes on a Sunday, would you call that marinating in the cross? That's the fondue. That's the garlic bread with the brush. Nothing wrong with that. I'll take any of that. Come to the Lord's table in a few minutes. Is coming here to the Lord's table marinating? No, not necessarily. It might be a brush. It might be a fondue. So look what Paul is challenging us with today. He says, I'm not interested in the baptism is not the thing, but to preach the gospel, not with words of human wisdom, lest the cross of Christ be emptied of its power. Look in verse 18. I love this verse. For the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise. The intelligence of the intelligent I will frustrate. He is saying, I could come to you in eloquence. I could come to you with great sounding words. I could impress you with my oratory. But is that what I want you to be impressed with? Paul's probably better, is. I mean, can you imagine pastors going to heaven? I mean, personally, I'm going to go seeing Jesus and Paul and Daniel and David and all the effort us pastors put into preaching. I want to go talk to somebody else. That's one of the things about me and with you guys, is that I mean, I have to work that hard at it, but I try not to be the orator so that you're impressed with my speaking capabilities. That's why I repeatedly remind you of what row I started in. What row did I start in? The back. The shy, quiet, picked on kid. I tell you that because I remind myself, you need to know that. I try to take God's word, which the New Testament was primarily written in something called Koine Greek, which the word koine means common. Put it in a way that anybody can understand it. And Paul's saying, I don't want to empty the cross of its power by my oratory. And he says, I'm focusing on the message of the cross because that's the power of God. So my friends, today, it's pretty simple, is that as you and I walk through the day, ponder the cross. The message of the cross. Let's think about the cross for just a moment here. Okay? The cross. Why did we need the cross? Where does that come from? The Romans invented it, I guess, or at least they're the best known for it. On some occasions, they would crucify thousands of criminals at a time. Thousands. Capital punishment. Why? How is it even possible you would associate God with criminal capital punishment? How does that work? What is it about the situation that God would say, I need to put a cross in my son's path? What gets God to think about that? It's pretty, I mean, wouldn't you and me, if we were God, wouldn't you take out the magic wand and go, okay, you're better. This section, you're better. This section, you're better. And you guys over there, you're better. Wouldn't you do that? Why go through all the pain and the hassle and just make it right? Well, there's these things called, like, let's say, for example, something called, justice. Familiar with justice? We want other people to get justice, but I don't want justice. How about you? I'll get it somebody else. You see what they did, and then when I do the same thing, I'm like, no, mercy, I give. Something changed, right? Because it's me and not them. You realize, right? It doesn't happen anywhere near as fast as we want. But every wrong deed will get justice. Ever. Now, that's real easy for me to say, you think. But if you've had somebody in your family killed or maimed because of somebody's idiocy or sinfulness or evil, you tell me how easy it is to say that God's just. So the justice is not served fast enough. But God is just. So what difference does that make? Here he creates us, and we have this problem. Every one of us. In fact, even before I say it, go ahead and turn to somebody and say, you got the problem he's about to tell us. Go ahead, just say, you got the problem he's about to tell us. Okay? You got the problem. That's a little scary because you're like, I don't know what he's going to say right now. I'm not sure if I got that problem. Okay. Here's the issue every one of us has. Every one of us commits rebellion against God. Okay. Now, if God were just in the way that we wanted him to be just, serving justice right now, if God was that way with you and me, what would that look like? We'd all be in the burn unit. Okay? We'd all be in the burn unit. So really, aren't you and I glad he doesn't serve up justice on a platter every time something goes bad? Because guess who's on the platter? You and me. So you have a God who is just, and there is a judgment day, and everything will be held accountable, and every one of us deserves to go to hell. It's still amazing to me. It's not amazing. It's angering to me when I go to funerals that other pastors do at times, and they give the impression that just by dying, you go to heaven. I call it redemption by death. All you have to do is die to get to heaven. I go, that is a travesty of the supreme order to suggest there's any truth to that. So we have this rebellion problem, but it's worse than what I just said. How can it be worse than what you just said? You just talked about hell, and I'm on a platter, and I'm in a burn unit. How does it get worse than that? That sounds pretty bad to me. Here's the part I'm trying to bring out. It's not about what you do and don't do only. Because if you think sin is only about doing and not doing something, you're really missing the basic point. The basic point is that you and I have a formidable and extremely powerful corruption inside of us. And it started with Adam. So that means, watch this. Some of you heard me say this before. Okay. You're not a sinner because you did something sinful. Did you catch that? You're not a sinner because you did something sinful. The reason you're a sinner is because that's the nature that we're all born with. And so then our sin, the actions that we refer to, those actions are only a reflection of the corruption and the rebellion inside of us. Now do you see what the problem is? Christianity and what Christ did isn't about veneer. It isn't about the idea of, well, you just got to be a nice person and you just got to do better. You just got to be nicer. Just do one good thing a day, and you'll be good as punch. Don't kill anybody. Show up at church once in a while. Does that type of thinking and advice get you anything with regard to the corruption that's in our heart? Nothing. That's why we say things like this. Following Christ is not about making a bad person good. It's about making a dead person live. It's about resurrection. My friends, we need to tell ourselves this on a regular basis. So why did the Father put a cross in front of his Son? Because the problem was so bad that a magic wand just doesn't take care of it. Does a magic wand take care of justice? What about the human trafficking? What about the corruption? What about these things that we read in the paper and we go, why doesn't God do something about that? And it's funny, it's not funny. The strange thing is we blame it on everybody else and their corruption, but we do not look in a mirror and go, it includes me too. Oh, we're so self-righteous. I just start with myself. It's because of this heart corruption issue that started in the garden that it took the Father to send his Son to be born and to live a flesh and blood life, fully God, fully man, and he had to go to this cross and be nailed to it and die a despicable, terrible, blood-flowing type of a death, because that's how bad the problem is. That's how bad the problem is. What kind of love does our Father have? I don't know anybody like that. I don't know anybody like that. This is why we want to marinate in the message of the cross more than just a few minutes every second Sunday, at least here at this church. We need to marinate and say, oh God, without you, not only am I nothing, I deserve nothing from you. I rebel against you repeatedly. I rebel so often, I don't even think of it as rebellion. I think it's normal. I think it's normal to shake my fist at God or to just ignore him. Kings don't like being ignored any more than they do like being rebelled. And so we come to that cross, and I am sure I would have puked my guts if I had seen it. He does this for me. He does this for you. And we think about it once a month. Is anything wrong with that picture? I mean, just for me. Is anything wrong with that picture? We take God so lightly. We take his cross and what he's done for us, his resurrection, and we barely think about it. My friends, I'd like to submit to the application point in here. Here's this. I'd like for you to consider this. Start preaching to yourself. Well, I'm not a preacher. I didn't go to seminary. Fine. Good for you. Great. Not everybody should go. Some of the ones that I saw go, anyway. Maybe that was me. Right? Get up to that mirror, which now has what on it? I'm deeply loved. Yeah. I like that one, right? Go up to that mirror, and you start preaching to yourself. Now, whether you get frothy like I do every once in a while, doesn't matter. If you just want to say it, and whatever. But come up to yourself, and you say, I am saved by the cross of Jesus Christ. I have no other hope. You, O Lord, have come and taken care of my sin and rebellion problem. It's because of your resurrection that I have hope and I have life. And you preach yourself to that, and you preach yourself to that, because here's the thing. If you keep getting stuck in this shame and blame, and I'm nobody. I know you're nobody. I'm nobody. You think it surprises God when you say, I'm a nobody? He's like, oh, really? He's saying actually the opposite. I died for you. Marinate in the message of the cross. Marinate in the amazing, life-altering, heart-rendering resurrection of making you and me being dead in the sight of God to alive forever. Say that to yourself. I'm alive forever because of what Christ has done. Let's go back to that one simple question is this. If God were to ask you why he should let you into his heaven, what would you say? Now, I don't know if he's going to ask that question, but I think it's a pretty good question. If God were to ask you why he should let you into heaven, what would you say? And I'm going to say this right now. If you begin that sentence with anything you've done, let's try it again. If you begin the answer to that question, why should God let you into heaven? If you begin that sentence with something you've done or not done, I'm going to put it this way. I'm not trying to hurt you. If you begin the answer to that question with anything you've said or done, you have no idea about the cross. I'm going to even say this. I don't even think you know Jesus Christ. I don't mean to hurt you. Here's how it usually goes. Why should God let you into heaven? Well, I went to church. I didn't kill anybody. Who did that just focus on? If you answer that question remotely like that, I say this in love. You do not know Jesus Christ. I mean, you don't know the basics of Jesus Christ. And this is a great day to run to Jesus Christ. Because here, by him, not because of me, left to my own devices, I don't even want to know where I would be. The answer is something along this line. Tim, why should I let you into my heaven? I might say something like this. Probably won't say much because I'll probably be crying on the ground, flat on my face, blubbering away. No, I don't deserve it. The only reason that I have any confidence, and the amazing thing is you have confidence in this scenario, the only reason I have confidence to answer this question, Lord, is because of what you have done for me on the cross. That's it. Who did that focus on? Him. I'll say it one more time. Please inspect yourself as you come to the table today. Are you coming to God on your own merit or on Christ's? And eternity's in the balance. Marinate in the message of cross. A couple things I want to throw by you here as well. Write this down for number 2. Don't move the stumbling stone. Don't move the stumbling stone. You know how it is when you're going along with, let's say you've got your a parent that's a little farther in years, and you see something that's in the way. If you care about them, what are you going to do? You're going to go down and you're going to move the stone away, or the different things in there, right? You're going to try and get rid of the toys, and you're going to move things around so they have an easy, straightforward path to use there. And so we go along, and we think it's our job to clear a path. Did you know when it comes to what I just told you about the cross, everything I just told you the last 5 or 10 minutes, it's not your job to move the stumbling block. Watch what the scriptures say in verse 22 of chapter 1. It says this. Jews demand miraculous signs, Greeks look for wisdom, but we preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to Jews and foolishness to Gentiles. The Greek word under there for stumbling stone is interesting. It's scandalon, where we get the word scandalize from. It's an incredible thing there. And what Paul is saying is the message of the cross is salvation to those of us that have been called to Christ, but for those who are not following, it's a stumbling stone. Why is it a stumbling stone? Fairly obvious. Because you're going up to people, and Christ is coming up to people saying, guess what? Your journey, your venture, your desire to be in heaven has nothing to do with you. You have nothing to bring to the table. Nothing. In fact, it's the opposite. The only thing you have to bring to the table on this subject is that you are a rebel and deserve to die now and forever. Well, that's pretty encouraging to most people in America these days. Yeah? That's why you hear some pastors get pretty wound up when they hear about other preachers who talk about, oh, well, just, and they make it Christianity light. Just come in and just follow Jesus. Which you should do, but there's more to it than just a light word, follow. Don't, and I'm talking to myself, Anderson, don't, and my friends here, do not move the scandal. Do not present the gospel in such a fashion that someone can come and think that they have something to do with being accepted by God. That is a scandal, and you and I know this. Has anybody here ever been mocked because someone comes up to you and say something like this? Is Jesus really the only way? Has anybody ever said that to you? I hope someone has said that to you. Because the flip side of this is this. If no one's ever said that to you, that probably means you've never told anybody that's what you think. And that's about as bad. That's not a good place. That's another thing to examine in our life. Have you told anybody that you believe that Jesus Christ is the only way? And by the way, let me just step back for a second on that point, okay? People go, oh, you Christians, you're the only way. Oh, you know what? Get off it. Get off it, okay? Listen. The folks that are going along, and whether you're Hindu, Buddhist, Islam, whatever it is, every one of them claims to be the only way. Okay? And even if you're a secularist, guess what? They think they're the only way. Don't feel you got to be bad in this corner. Oh, I can't say that. Oh, give me a break. Anybody that pushes you in a corner on that subject are themselves saying there's one way. It's not your way, it's my way. Anyway. Don't move the stone. If no one's ever mocked you for it, maybe now's the time to speak up. Guys, I've had long-term Bible studies in churches. And I've had people who have been leaders in churches. And they did not submit their minds to the fact that Jesus Christ is the only way. They couldn't. There's one guy in particular, he's like, oh, I'm a great leader. I've had people say I'm a great leader. Could not say, did not believe Jesus Christ is the only way. Pretty good church leader, huh? Now I've got some good news for you. Well, everything I just told you is good news. The way to get out of our rebellion and situation is through the cross of Jesus Christ. Humble yourself, repent, turn to Him, give it up and say, Lord, it's all entirely you, and you will be saved. That's the best news. But here's the third thing you can write down is this. Your weakness, don't you love this? Ready? Your weakness is designed, did you know your weakness has a design to it? Your weakness is designed to confront the world's wisdom. Your weakness is designed to confront the world's wisdom. Look what Paul says here down in verse 25, 26. Watch this, okay? I'm not making up that word confront. Watch where I got that from, okay? He says here in verse, 26, 27. Okay, look at this. He says, but God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. Does that sound confrontational to you? He chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. He chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. He chose the lowly things of this world and the despised things and the things that are not to nullify the things that are. Now here's the thing. I'm not asking you to be confrontational. I'm not asking you to be confrontational. I want you to understand something. Everyone here, starting with me, have weaknesses in our life. True or false? You just don't like it when a family member brings it up. I know how that goes. Yeah, okay. You'll agree if I say it, but if your wife or husband tells you that, don't you tell me I'm not perfect. Okay, yeah, right, okay. Whatever, get over yourself. Okay, all right. Your weakness is designed to confront the world's wisdom. Let me give you an example, okay? There's this church I'm familiar with. What's it called? Westminster. Yeah, that's it, Westminster. Okay. Not the biggest church in town by building or people. Almost died 10 years ago. That was fun. Right? Can God do anything with that group? We're not the flashiest. We don't have a beautiful gym, though I want a beautiful gym someday. I just want you to know. Okay, that's in my, yeah, okay. Right. Do we have the most impressive building? How many of us are really flashy? A few of you are pretty good with that. But I'm the treble light. I kept getting thrown in the crawl space. Anderson, go. Oh, okay. Oh, man. So where does he go? Where does God go to touch the lives of over 100 kids in town, for starters? I think I'll pick the church that nobody else really knows about or cares about. And I'm going to use them. To my knowledge, there's no millionaires in our midst. Although I could be wrong. Maybe some of you hide it well. But to my knowledge, there's no millionaires here. May you be blessed. To my knowledge, there's no, we've got some teachers in here, but I mean, we're not all that flashy. Right? You got a pastor who got broken along the way, and his wife did. Fortunately, the pastor and the wife still like each other. This is good. This is designed to do. To confront, among other things, confront the world's wisdom. Because we're saying things like this. Those kids matter. Their families matter. Even though they don't know us yet, they're going to get to know us eventually. Okay? They're going to get to know us eventually. Shut up! What's the deal? I muted the stupid thing. Every life counts. You're also saying things like this. You may not even realize it. You're saying this. I'm willing to sacrifice my time and resources for kids that aren't even mine. Bunches of them. Bunches that irritate me regularly. And people notice. I've heard some stories. I heard a story about a kid going into McDonald's, literally crying because WOW hasn't been going on in the last 3 or 4 weeks. I heard another story in school, kids talking about it. I heard that secondhand. I can't tell you who I heard that from. Top secret information. Need to know only. So my friends, not only does it apply to the church, it applies to you. Physically, emotionally, whatever it is, your weakness is designed. Not that you're confrontational, but as you follow Christ, as you seek Him, as He's transformed you from the inside out, your joy will make a difference, and people will go, what's going on there? And then you will be magnetic, and you'll be drawing people to Christ, and people are going to come to Christ. And then over time, guess what? I'm going to say I'll put it out in the line here. I'm going to say there's going to be at least 100,000 people around the throne of Christ at Judgment Day, and it's not just Judgment Day, for eternity, around Christ at Judgment Day because of Westminster. And because of the long-term obedience and the willingness to sacrifice and the willingness to be joyful in that sacrifice and to step out. And those kids make a difference. Not just now, but for the last 100 and whatever years it's been. Joanne, I should know that number. It's 130 something. I need a better answer than 130. It's a long time. Your weakness, my weakness, makes a difference. Join me in prayer. Thank you, Father, for the wisdom that you've shown us. So, Lord, come, I pray, and pour out your grace more and more as we come to the table, oh Lord. May your name be made great. I pray for my friends here today who have taken, when they examine themselves, have taken the cross lightly of recent. It's like, I just sort of I go along because it's comfortable, it's nice, my family goes, whatever. Oh, Lord. Starting with me and my family, and for my friends here, oh Lord, may we allow the message of the cross and the fact it's a stumbling stone, may we allow that stone to crush us so that we may be made new through the resurrection of Jesus Christ, through his forgiveness. And may we rejoice in our weakness, Lord, because the human wisdom out there is not where it needs to be. And may we walk in that wisdom and great power and joy in these days to the glory of Jesus Christ. Amen.